What's up, everybody? It is the Best Bot Kid Smooth, and I'm back with another quick video. This is South of Midnight. This is the review. Finally got to play it. Finally gonna talk about it. And this was one of my most anticipated games this year, along with like Avowed and Fable, but that got delayed. But I want to give a quick shout to South of Midnight for being the game that allowed me to break 300,000 gamer score. I did it when I beat the game. That was awesome. So this game, South of Midnight, man, it had a lot of controversy leading up to its release. Everybody, if anybody follows like those those certain content creators that want to point out everything that's Sweet Baby Inc. or DEI, a lot of that was aimed at this game because of its cast of characters. It's pretty much a primarily black cast of characters. The story is heavily influenced by that Louisiana South, and honestly, the thing is, after playing the game, this is not like a pandering game or a game of someone replacing another race or anything like that. They have the proper characters, the proper people for the game that they wanted to make, and that is absolutely clear, because it wouldn't make sense if this was your par for the core regular Caucasian male or Caucasian female running through the streets of Louisiana trying to understand some of this folklore that's in here. But outside of that, man, I played this game as a video game and wanted to see how good it would be, since this is Compulsion's first game since being acquired by Microsoft Xbox, and their third game in total. Their first game being Contrast, their second game being We Happy Few. I was not the biggest fan of the first two games, but South of Midnight had my attention because of presentation and the way that they premiered South of Midnight, and I've been interested in ever since. So let's talk about the game, man. This game, South of Midnight, you play as Hazel Flood, man, and her name I think is a double entendre, or ironic as hell. But Hazel is a weaver, and she learned that she's a weaver through some catastrophic events that took place at the start of the game. You start the game, Hazel and her mom are kind of having a disagreement, and a hurricane is oncoming. They're prepping to leave to evacuate, but they're moving kind of nonchalant and slow. Mom asks Hazel to check on like neighbors and stuff in the area. She does that. She comes back, and before she could get in the house, the hurricane and the flood, the force of the water washes the house away with Lacey, her mom, inside, and that caused Hazel to panic and lead her on this crazy journey to try to rescue her mom, or to catch her. But she's stopped and interrupted by many things. A lot of things start to happen to the town. This town is like, I think it's some fictional town inspired by Louisiana or something like that. But it's cursed. Like corruption and all this gunk and stuff starts to grow upon the city. She starts to see like ghosts and whatnot, and she's learning throughout her journey and trying to the quest to save her mom or to reunite with her mom, that she has some family ties that are deep, and there's some wicked and evilness in behind it, and it's her family ties that are deep rooted into that town. And there's some stories, and they're haunting the town. And as she goes through, she's learning. She gets powers and abilities to break through some of these problems and to resolve issue for some people. And it's, I would say the game is more so a journey of people dealing with tragedy and regret, and not, I guess, being able to move on and not being able to forgive. That's pretty much the message I got from the game, because it's their guilt, is their tragedy, is their resentment that's cursing parts of these towns, and it's up to Hazel to clear all that up by weaving through the problems and drama, finding out the core of the issue, and pretty much being that psychologist or that therapist in the form of a weaver, a ass-kicking weaver, to get to the root of the problem and clear those problems and unfortunately clear the area. This game reminds me of Kenna Bridget Spirits, which you're essentially almost doing the same thing, but the purpose is for a different cause. Also reminds me of the Gunk from a couple years ago, where you going through these areas, clearing these, you're restoring these beautiful area of nature. They're naturally beautiful, but you have to get rid of the curse, to get rid of the gunk, get rid of the corruption, for it to become clear, green, and shiny again. And part of Hazel's journey is going into a deep-rooted problem, fighting these cursed monsters and demons and all this other stuff, and getting them out of that area until she ultimately gets to the root of the real problem, and then restoring that area or humanity of that area. So the plot line, like I said, the objective is not new. We've seen things like this before. It's just the story, the plot line is where it gets very unique, and these guys do a wonderful job with this game, with the storytelling, with the music, with the environmental storytelling, with the plot line, with the narrative, the folklore. They did a wonderful job with that. This game, the way that the world looks, graphically is awesome. I played 50% of the game with the stop motion in place. It didn't bother me, and I think the second half of the game took it off, and it's fine. The music is dope, because the music when you're playing, it's every time you get to like a portion where you're about to fight a boss, or you're about to come to like a conclusion of something, and you're traversing your way up, a mountain, or traversing your way up through these areas, these obstacles, the music adds to the storytelling, because some of the songs are literally reciting the story in a form of a musical or a form of a soundtrack. And I think that is kind of dope, and it just adds extra element to the game. So this game, they did their thing with it, and it's pretty good. Now it is a flawed game. It's not perfect, but just South of Midnight is a $40 game. So that we wouldn't consider that AAA. That is like a double A type game. But in the terms of the AA department, I do think it excels in some areas, but it also regresses in some areas. So as much I have to say for the game's story, which is amazing, the game's graphics, which are awesome, the game's like the world, the way that it looks, and the gameplay meta, which I'm a fan of. I like the gameplay meta. I could play games like this all day. It works. Sure, it's repetitive, but it's not bad. Repetitive, yes, but it's not bad. It's like you're doing it for a purpose. You're doing essentially the same thing over and over again, but you're getting a different outcome in different areas. So once all right, this is how I got through this area, I'm pretty much going to do the same type of thing. Different enemies are going to come across my way. I'm going to have to get through different obstacles, but the goal, the meta, the objective is still pretty much consistent, which is fine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Where the game falls a little bit is in this combat, which is unfortunate, because this game, what makes this game is a treat. This game, for example, a game like this probably started as like a puzzle platformer, a heavy narrative-based puzzle platformer. But by adding the combat and the action into this game, that's what adds to the intrigue. That's what adds to the interest, and you appeal to a lot more people when you start engaging, putting the combat in part of it. And I think this is where it falls a little bit, because the combat has potential. It does have potential, and I mentioned Kenna Bridget Spirits earlier because I think that game had excellent combat for what it was. I had some issues with the defensive mechanics, but the combat was pretty great. If this had Kenna's combat, this game is a masterpiece. But it doesn't. It has flaws. And the thing is that I played on the hardest difficulty, so I didn't make it easier on myself. I don't like how the bosses, the battle areas work. So pretty much these battle arenas exist within the world. You'll be making your way through the world, and you'll notice some glowy things or some clouded area, which is pretty much clouded in corruption. Once you enter, that becomes a battle arena to clear out all these monsters and everything. And once you clear them all out, and you clear the corruption, that area becomes pretty and natural again. It's that kind of throughout the entire game. Of every world you go through, you're going to be doing that until you get to the boss or until you get to the next, plot point. So so that's but the thing is about the combat is that sure you got skill trees, things open up a little bit, but it doesn't really improve the combat. There's no real combos that you can do that improves the gameplay. The game can be difficult, but there's no parry, and you guys know I can't stand combat games or combat heavy games without a parry option. There is dodging, but the dodging does feel off, janky, and sort of broken in my opinion, because there's no way to master it no matter how good you're playing. The game doesn't seem to respond as well. Just very clunky for what it is. There is fun to be had with it. I just think there is definitely room for improvement. So much so these guys couldn't have been that confident with the combat, because there is an option to skip boss battles. There is an option to skip combat sequences. I recommend that you don't do that. I don't care how much trouble you're having. It's just, I think it takes away from the game. So I didn't do that. I played through every battle arena and every boss fight, no problem. I kept the game on the hardest difficulty because I was afraid that in this day and age the game would be extremely easy, and I didn't want the game to be super easy for me, and I wanted somewhat of a challenge. So I think the game is pretty good, but I think they did a lot of things right with the game when it comes to storytelling, when it comes to graphics, when it comes to environmental storytelling, traversing, platforming, puzzles. They throw a lot of mechanics at you in this game, and they do it at a good pace. That's one thing I do appreciate. They do it at a decent pace throughout the game, where you get different enemy types, you get different mechanics that you'll be doing to unlock different areas, get companions, you get to upgrade your abilities that have multipliers and different things on it to enhance the combat, and to enhance the gameplay experience. So honestly guys, man, I really like the game. Is it my favorite? No. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely, but it is pretty good. And for when you consider the price point, this is a $40 game. I have to judge it differently. So if this game was like $70 with its current flaws, the things I don't like about the combat, and I did run, and I have to talk about this, I did have a bug that reared his ugly face multiple times throughout my experience. And I think if everybody played on normal or easy, they probably wouldn't run into this bug as often. But because I died a lot, in the battle arena, when you respawn, I would run into something would happen where the enemies would not spawn. And when they don't spawn, you can't progress. So it would require me to close out the game app, and I have to play the area over and over. And that sucks. So I do have to knock it for that. So like I said, if this was a $70 package game, regardless of Game Pass, this would be probably a 6.5. But at $40, when you consider, I do think it exceeds. It punches above its weight, but again, it does have those flaws and the bugs that I experienced. And if I had to give this game a proper grade, a fair grade, it's definitely a 7.5 out of a 10 for me. It does a lot of things good, but one of the things I was looking forward to this game was more so related to the combat itself, and the battle race. I wanted to see how good it'd be, and it was just very underwhelming in that case, and I found myself frustrated. And then the bugs during the battle arenas. Now I will say a couple things, right? During the boss battles, friendly checkpoints, which I have no problem with, friendly checkpoints. But during these battle arenas, which sometimes are harder than the boss fights, right? You're not blessed with any checkpoints, but that's just more, I don't know if that's a get good moment or just like, hey, you guys probably should have thought about that, because these things can be a bit tough. I can't judge the other modes. I didn't play on the easiest mode. I started the game on the hardest difficulty and continued and finished it there, but I had a good time. I enjoyed it. When I wrote the credits, I clapped my hands because I thought they did a good job with the story. The story kind of maintained quality from beginning to end. I love the narration. I love the characters, the callbacks to the folklore there in the world around the game. They did a masterful job. All the actors and voice acting they did, the game performances were second to none. It was subpar, and that's what brings a lot of light to this game. And I think a lot of people will like it, but the flaws I had, again, was more so related to bug, combat, and the performance is shoddy. It's not like a lot 60 FPS for some reason. It was a bit shoddy, and turning off stop motion also confirmed that. So there's some improvements it can be, but I like the game. I enjoyed it, and I would actually play it again for sure, because I definitely want to go back and clean up the achievements. Hopefully they add a new game plus. It may not be necessary because the game is not huge. It's not the biggest package. I beat the game in probably ideally when you factor in a working a 9 to 5, maybe 3 days. When I put my my real time hours in, I probably beat the game in 3 days for sure. But that's my video. That's my review. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you looking forward to South of Midnight? Did my review help any? Let me know, man. Give me some pointers. As always, guys, Xbox is the best box. I am the best bot. Good night or good morning if you're on the other side of the globe. Thank you. Peace.